What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the garage. I got something pretty freaking special for you guys today. Hey, hold on a minute. Now, before we get into the video, I got to tell you guys about the raffle that we're doing to help fund the machine. It's on teamblindracing.com. I will leave that down in the description, obviously. And then you guys can go on there, check it out, buy yourself some merch if you want. It helps support the cause. It also goes towards a bunch of raffle prizes that we have. We've already given away a Blood Lubricants pre-race package. We've already given away a $250 Blood Lubricants gift card. We still have a $500 Lone Star gift card. We still have a bunch of Sun F tire gift cards to give away. We got Super ATV. We even have a 2-night stay at the South Point Hotel in Vegas. So if you guys would please go at least check that out, see if you want to get yourself something, or at least stop by the website and check it out. That would be awesome. That would help us get this thing on the move. So back to the video. You guys already went through Randy Savage. He's pretty much done, just waiting on shocks. That's the last thing. Takes a while, whatever. But we're going to move on to something that I've been teasing for quite a while. Project Cyborg. You guys have seen this in all the Team Blind stuff, the desert racing, but basically what we're doing is we're building a fully adaptive ATV for amputees. And not just veterans, but this is kind of like paving the way for anybody who's an amputee, or I think we even have a paraplegic, someone who doesn't have the use of both of her legs. They're both there, they're not amputated, but she's paralyzed from the waist down. So we're gonna try to get her on there. But this thing is freaking cool. It's not gonna be a very long video. Basically, I'm gonna show you guys the machine, show you guys some of the parts that we have right now and the plan going forward from here on out, because it's time to start kicking ass on this thing and get moving on, because we have until October to have it completely done and ready to race for these guys, because we're going to put them into the legacy racing. I think it's the Dirt Revolution. It's about a 200-mile desert race, and these guys have done this before. Most of them, I think Josh Rottenkamp and Adam Poppenhaus and Mitch, forgetting some of the other guys' names, but we're going to bring at least 3 of those guys back, and they're going to hop on this thing and race it in the Dirt Revolution, which is going to be freaking awesome. So let's get this camera turned around. I'm going to show you guys some of the things we already have on the machine. So what you guys are looking at right here is a 2007 Honda TRX 450ER. This one was an electric start, not a kicker model. They were available, I think, all the way up until 09. But little backstory on where this came from and how we got it. This was actually in Colorado, I believe, just outside of Denver. And the gentleman who owned this prior was racing it, I think in the Cork series, which is basically the Colorado version of Works. It's just another off-road series that they do out there. I think they run at Ram Off-Road Park and other places like that, but that's where this came from. That's why you see those Elkas on there, and this guy had raced it for a long time. It had a red frame on it, and the frame, the main frame, was actually pretty cracked and welded on and repaired a lot, but we were able to get a hold of another 06 Plus frame, so we were able to get it all powder coated, and then it was gusseted. I think this is a Lone Star gusset kit that's already on here, and then Jason was able to get it back to me. And then basically in the shape that you see it in now. It had wheels and tires on it. But when we were talking about doing the amputee quad, because this has been done once before that I've seen, last time these guys rode a amputee quad, it was actually an LTR 450. Well, we wanted to do it again, but of course we know Hondas, so we were trying to find them because the prices seem pretty good on these versus an LTR again. Jason found one in Colorado. It was this one, and FK Rod Ends wanted to help sponsor us and at least get us parts to rebuild this thing and really help us get this quad. So Jason, on his way back from Vegas to Reno last year, picked this thing up and then drove back to South Dakota with it and started going back through it. That's how we found out about the frame and everything. So ended up in Jason's hands. And through his busy work and all the contacts he's been getting a hold of and things like that, we were able to get a bunch of parts for this thing and basically start the ball rolling. So he got it cleaned up, fresh powder coat. We got a bunch of parts on here already. The engine was with him. It had plastics. I'm not sure where those plastics are now. We were going to put a bigger tank on it. I already have one. So we're going to run like a 3.8 IMS tank on here. And then we're gonna do some different handlebars because all of the stuff that we have going on here is gonna require quite a bit of real estate and some clever, I guess, placement of certain things. So that's kind of the backstory on where this thing was, where it lived, and how we got a hold of it. But let's go over some of the things that are already on here that we're actually gonna use quite a bit of. Thankfully, it had some really good stuff on it. Now it is an 07 450ER, so it's the electric start model, but that's kind of what we were looking for because these guys aren't gonna be able to kickstart it because they're missing legs, you know. But it comes with like your 06 plus spindles and hubs, which aren't the most ideal. However, we've ridden them out there in the desert and they seem to do just fine. I guess the geometry on the 05s are just that much better, or they're beefier, whatever it is. We're just gonna stick with what we have. It also has Gibson arms. Now, some of you guys may know what those are. They haven't been in business for quite a long time. I think over 10 years, Gibson arms haven't been made, but FK Rod Ends makes all of the replacement parts. So we have upper heims, those are new. We have the heims that go down here in the end. They're a lot like the roll design heims. They have uprights. We're gonna try to see if we can find someone to make some new uprights, but we're able to keep these arms alive basically as long as we don't bend them or break them or anything. We can keep them alive with parts from FK Rod Ends, so that's really cool. We also have these Elka factory shocks. So I've actually had to go around and ask quite a few people. If any of you guys know more about these than we do, please chime in the comments, whatever you know about them. We want to know because I think the last time that these were ever even rebuilt or sold, I don't even think they were sold to the public, but these are technically like the factory team shocks or whatever the heck they are, predecessors to like stage 5s. And they have this giant bypass valve on all of the reservoirs and everything, and it was supposed to be like a heavy chop bypass so you could loosen these things up for heavy square edge and things like that. From what I hear, they were kind of a gimmick and they didn't really work, so most people just leave these closed off and then ride with your normal reservoirs and everything open and whatnot. So we're still going to try to get them rebuilt. If we talked to Doug Roll and Jed Bunch over there at Roll Design, I'm pretty sure these guys can go through, or Clark at Nolene, he probably knows a bit about these and he could rebuild these pretty well. So we're gonna go ahead and run these, but basically see if we can eliminate these bypasses that apparently didn't even really work anyway. But it is still kind of a cool piece of history on here. And then running up front, we have this Wrath Racing bumper, but I have never seen one like this. This is an old school Wrath Racing bumper. I don't even know when the last time it was that Wrath Racing did all these cutouts up front. Or maybe it's just a fake one and has Wrath Racing on it. I don't know, but this looks like a sick old school Wrath Racing bumper. We're definitely gonna run that one, see if we can run some lights out to the side. I figured out a couple ways to do that, but I definitely like that Wrath bumper on there. And then I think in the rear, we just have a stock grab bar. I mean, we don't really care. I might put like one of the Alba big grab bars. We run that on a few other machines. I like it because it gives you a lot of leverage and a lot of stuff to lift up on, but we're running a stock swing arm, the 06 swing arm. I like it. We're gonna run with it because it seems to work just fine. It also is a little bit longer than the 05 swing arm. We're actually running an 06 swing arm on Nomad over here, and it works really well. It lengthens your wheelbase out. And then of course we have the Elka rear shock. It's the same thing. It's like the factory shock here. And we have our Elka linkage in there. All this stuff came on there. This stuff looks almost brand new. Like this guy really took care of it. So we're actually pretty impressed by that. And then we can't wait to get the thing rebuilt because it's not gonna take a whole lot to do that. So really happy with how clean some of the stuff was. It already had, I think this Alba stem was on there, just a +1 stem. We don't mind these at all. They work just fine for us. We're gonna get a different set of bars. I already talked about that. But that's kind of like the main stuff that came on here. The engine you don't see right now, it's actually with someone else, but it was a 490 big bore engine. It had like an ice cube cylinder on it. I think it had a ported head and a cam and stuff. It's a rocket ship, but we're basically going to go back through that engine. I'll rebuild it, re-ring the piston or whatever I gotta do, make sure it's fresh so that these guys can ride the thing. I think we have some Wrath Nerf bars already. If not, maybe we'll hit up Lone Star, see if we can get some Nerf bars. Otherwise, this thing came pretty much as you see it with the engine, and then it had black plastics all over it. So we're gonna go through, probably use the same plastics. I think we already have a set of plastics we're gonna run because the black plastics that were on there were pretty beat up, but I think we have some spares laying around, so we're gonna use those. So besides all that, that's basically how it came. what our plan is, I actually have a big jug or a big bin over there full of parts. I'm just going to kind of go over some of the things we have planned for it. So besides rebuilding the shocks, just fresh A-arms already, so we don't really have to worry about those. Go through new brake rotors and brake pads, make sure everything's fresh bearings and greased up. All the pivot points, hit all those. Our plan is, starting at the Nerf bars, we're going to put footboards underneath the Nerf bars so these guys can actually set their prosthetics on top of the Nerf bars and not worry about their prosthetics getting caught in the nets or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, we got a guy coming in missing one of his legs. And then the engine, we're basically going to leave that as it is. Like I said, clean it up, make sure it's got fresh everything in there so it runs good. Get a good exhaust for these guys. I don't know, maybe I'll get one of the Rossi AR5s, stick it on there because that sounds fantastic. Black plastics, we'll put pretty much the same graphics, minus a few things. We're going to change some colors around for these guys. Like I said, it's Project Cyborg. It's kind of a totally different thing than this. It's just meant to race the same kind of races. But we'll do a little bit different color scheme. We got the big tank. We're going to run one. We're going to see if we can get a dry brake. There are some companies, I think Clark makes a dry brake adapter that you can put onto an IMS tank. So you can basically cut the neck off, bolt it down by drilling a few holes and get everything set with some rubber seals. And then you have a dry brake tank. We're still arguing about that one. We're not sure if we're going to do that. But the really cool stuff is going to happen up here and back there. So suspension is suspension. We all know how that's going to work. We're going to kind of try to valve it for some guys right in the middle of the weight. Engine is going to be the engine. That's all fine. But the cool stuff is we're going to be doing all hand controls for these guys. So the throttle will be as it is, just a thumb throttle. Still have our front brake. But then when you get over to this side, besides our switch block to start the thing, because it's going to be an E-start, we're also going to be running what's called a clake. Now, when I get that in here, I'll be able to show you guys more, but basically it's a dual master cylinder, hydraulic rear brake line, and hydraulic clutch. So we can run the Magura hydraulic clutch kit and set that up on the quad. And it's both on the same perch and the same lever, and there's two levers that basically sit next to each other right here. And when you pull in the clutch, it actuates just like normal. But if you pull in the brake lever, it automatically pulls the clutch with it, so it disengages the clutch as you're pulling the brake in, so that you can downshift or whatever you got to do. But the shifting part is going to be done electronically up here from the switch block. The switch block we're using is actually from a Honda Rancher. I think it's either a Honda Rancher or Honda Rubicon. But the switch block has all the same stuff. The connections are basically the same. We're finding this out. Honda used a lot of the same connections, but the switch block is going to have the electronic shifter on it like you could get on the Honda Ranchers. And that's going to be hooked up to a shift solenoid down here that will actually hook up to the shift lever down here. It'll basically all bolt together. We'll have it mounted. And whenever you hit the shift lever, it's going to shift for these guys so they don't have to use their feet, obviously. So it's all pneumatic. It runs up to that switch and it's electronic, and we're going to run it off our batteries. I think we're going to do a 24 volt kit. We're not sure if we're going to run 24 volts. I think we have a Shirai battery, which is a very powerful battery. So we should be able to run one battery directly to the switches, and then the other battery will actually be running, the stator will be running to it, and then helping charge the other one. So they're kind of in line. Not quite sure how we're going to do that yet, but that's the setup. So we should have all that stuff going, and then that brake line is going to run down next to everything else, just like the old emergency brake cable used to. It used to run down from there because you could set it and run next to the engine, back across to the other side, and then we'll have our master cylinder for our rear brakes and a dual banjo boat so that we can run two stainless steel braided lines back to our caliper here. So we can still have a foot brake and we can have the rear brake running from up there. So we should be able to run both brake lines into our rear caliper and run brakes off of both, which would be awesome. There are a couple guys that have the use of their right leg so they can still step on the brake if they want to, you know, because they're used to that. Josh Rotkamp, he's actually a Baja guy. He's ridden dirt bikes in Baja. He rips. Adam Poppenhaus has ridden before, but he's missing both legs. So we kind of have to accommodate for both those guys. And I think We can do that by leaving the rear brake pedal on there and then running the clake system on the other side. When I get that, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. It's wild, but it's gonna be freaking awesome. So that's kind of our plan moving forward. And obviously the seat we're gonna have to make pretty comfortable for these guys because they're gonna be sitting down quite a bit. We have a seat already. It's the seat that came off here, but we're gonna get some more seat foam. We're gonna get some more seat foam from Jet Trim up in Lake Havasu, glue it on there, and then I've got our seat cover that we've had, the Jet Trim seat cover. Those things are awesome and they're durable, and we can absolutely just swap that thing right back on there, and then it's also going to go with our color scheme on this thing. So, as you guys have seen, this thing is pretty wild. It's already in good shape. Can't wait to get started on it. In the next couple months, be watching for some videos. The next video I should do will actually be when I get a bunch of the parts in and then I start putting everything together, especially when I have the engine. I can start putting it all together. That's the great thing about this, is I don't have to actually rip it apart and then start from scratch. This thing's already in good shape and a roller. I just have to start adding all the parts and then making the electronics and everything fit and work. That's kind of gonna be the rub on this build. So this is something I've never done before. I'm excited to get started on it, especially because I can't wait to see these dudes rip it. These guys are looking forward to it. We figured, you know, if we're gonna go out there ripping, some of our service member buddies who don't have, you know, limbs and things like that, they always think, oh man, I wish I could do that. And we kind of thought, well, why not? I think we can build something to do that. So that's what we got going on. I'm excited to get started on this thing because, well, one, I get to ride it too. But two, seeing those guys out there ripping with us, we're getting more guys into the sport. They're gonna be out there racing next to us. It's just gonna be a good time. So definitely come back for more of those videos. All right, so as I was talking, I just realized, oh yeah, I have a lot of this stuff in here. So we've got our front plastics and things like this. This is the parts bin that Jason brought me with a bunch of the stuff we're gonna be using. Some of the things we already have, like Terry cables, dual gasser. This is a freaking cool throttle. So if you guys don't know what these are, some of you might know what they are, but they're basically a twist throttle and thumb throttle in one. And all you do is you pull a little switch right underneath here. You can lock in the thumb throttle or the twist throttle. You can lock that in so you can use just the thumb, or you can unlock it and use the twist. And we used one the first year we ran Vegas to Reno, and I actually liked it a lot. It was pretty solid. So this is a cool item. Terry Cable's also been helping us out, so we're excited for that. Got my ECU, some of the essential stuff here that I need, wiring harness. I believe that switch block is in here somewhere. See if I can find it. Otherwise, we got our air box and some hubs. Oh yeah, they're already powder coated, of course, so I can use some fresh powder coated hubs because of course that's gonna be way cooler. We also have our battery box, some engine mount bolts, key switch, air box. Let's get those out of the way. Here's some of the parts I'm really excited for. All DRW protection. So I think Jason hit up Weston over at DRW and he said, sure, I'd love to help you guys out, and sent us full protection package here. So we're running all DRW skids, and we've got, let's see, our K-saver there. We've got this chain guide. I think we have a few more parts coming. Yep, there's our swing arm skid. That's gonna be awesome, all fresh. And let's find out what's in here. Oh, I thought I was gonna do that. Oh, okay. Full bearing kits for the hubs. Got some air boots, some spacers. Okay. Yep, I opened that up upside down. My bad. All right, what else do we have? There's our kill switch. Definitely need that. But I guess that's it. Yeah, that's kind of what I have. I have all that here and a few more parts hanging out in there, which is always nice having spare stuff. Anyway, that's what I have. When I have more, you guys will know because I will post another video with all that stuff. And when I start putting everything on there, I should have all that. So when all that shows up, please come back, watch the videos. I'm gonna have a full series on this thing as well. As you guys saw, I already have Randy Savage pretty much done, just waiting on shocks. When those go on there, you'll get first ride of that. But this is a project I'm most excited about to get done for the end of the year. It's gonna be freaking awesome. So please come back and I will see you guys when I get hopping on that thing.